In upstate New York, the burnt-over cradle of heterodoxy into which I was born, the ground regularly hatches heretics. We've got Joseph Smith, the Millerites, the Oneida Society, the Shakers, and plain everyday pagans. That I personally am not a heretic is just more evidence that love is always partly election. Growing up against this history, the evangelical youth culture in my town had a peculiar stripe of holiness in which, as far as I could tell, everybody sincere got called either to Africa, vegetarianism, or celibacy. I guess odd religious fervor runs in the water. I barely escaped with my life. I do not want to write today about Africa or vegetarianism, although I'm a literature student and therefore capable of talking forever on subjects I know nothing about. I want, instead, to write a defense for being in love. It is my personal opinion that our generation needs it badly, and I think I'm prepared to field the mockery which may ensue. I once aspired to nunnery myself, and this, I think, qualifies me as a credible defender of all raging, yet virtuous, romantics. It was a bad idea, compounded because I was not even a little bit Roman Catholic. In writing, I do not wish to defame all nuns, career women, or Ethiopian eunuchs. I wish only to say that sometimes, as was my case, the impulse to shun romance has much less to do with holiness, and much more to do with the fear of being known. Romance shunners come in many breeds, some more legitimate than others. How often girls come to me preaching that thinking of boys distracts them from Christ. It is particularly difficult for girls heavily intelligent in the area of calculation and memory, exceptional recorders of details, and so poised on the edge of giftedness they fear they might topple over the edge one day and, as Pushkin said, join the poets. Nonsense, I say. The world ends in a white wedding. Besides, what's wrong with poetry? When they told me that I should never have feelings for a man who may not be my husband, I slammed the dorm room door. Oddly enough, I began slamming doors over romance shortly after an accidental study of sexual abuse. I grew up on the property of a home for juvenile sex offenders, and usually also abuse victims, in a circle of adults, some therapists, who mince no words. From these adults I learned to value desire, that it is a whetting of the appetite for heaven, and that it is, amazingly, sinful to kill it in order to maintain relational safety. It is another odd education I treasure. I learned that the sexual abuse victim, particularly, is hell-bent, like the Buddhist, upon killing desire because it is the only way to stay safe from pain. I find that safety profoundly unchristian, for it precludes loving one's neighbor by giving oneself away. I learned that self-protection, while it may find its fullest expression in the sexual abuse victim, which these days, I hear, is almost everybody, makes up the personality of every human. I'm talking about encounters as simple as the jerk at the 7-Eleven being rude to you about your change. I mean that when we're toddlers, our arms are open to the world, and turn to fists when we realize that not everyone in the world has our best interests at heart. In our cursed world, no one escapes sin, and everyone wants to be safe from the pain it causes. For these reasons, I slammed my dorm room door. The new brand of nunnery, with which girls came to me over and over, overwhelmed with guilt for liking boys, seemed more a reaction to relational abuse of the everyday sort than a true quest for purity. It sounded much more like, I don't want to risk any pain, than, I want Christ. What is the solution? To quote my geometry professor, Dr. Cooks, if you haven't noticed yet, life is kind of angsty. If desire is not dead, the ride of life will be wild. It will be much turning the other cheek, loving the man behind the 7-Eleven counter, and learning to practice the pursuing love of God which bleeds. It is the only way I know of to get a taste of life. Of course, when you love, you sometimes lose, and then there is all the pain of withdrawing loyalties and wrestling God and getting broken and going to sleep with a crying storm in your upper half. But that does not make us less. It makes us more. Avoiding it does not make us more, it makes us less. It is significantly more difficult than vegetarianism. Tonight I was gratified when my friend Tiffany Dyerline came into my room and said, "We all came to college thinking we shouldn't fall in love, and then we all did, and then we broke up, and now we know you're right. Creation groans in many voices. All my love and a kiss to the grinning idiots on the hard path of desire. Just you try avoiding it.